Have you ever seen this meme and wondered where this so-called quote comes from? Me too. And by the end of the video, you will understand with incontrovertible proof that I will present that this meme is completely made up, completely fraudulent. Gamal Abdel Nasser never said any such thing. And so I'm going to deconstruct yet another illogical claim, yet another frivolous claim of the so-called Hebrew Israelite movement. This is Tony Ray from Chazakim Ministries, also from Shield Squad. And if you're like me and you've engaged the so-called Hebrew Israelites on any level, and you go online to some of their web pages, or you go to the Facebook pages, etc., Instagram pages, Twitter pages of so-called Hebrew Israelites, you'll see this meme eventually. It's a very popular meme, and it purports to show a quote from former Egyptian president Gamal Abdel Nasser. And so I'm going to go ahead and read it. It says at the top, "They left black." And the caption says, when he was asked about peace in the Middle East, the late president of Egypt, Gamal Abdel Nasser, stated, "The Jews will never be able to live here in peace because they left here black but came back white." Now, the first time I saw this, I knew this had to be from the mind of an American pro-black who had never been to the Middle East and doesn't have much interaction with Berber and Arab Muslims from that region, because I can tell you from experience that they do not consider themselves to be black, let alone the Jews that dwell in their nations. Egyptians don't consider themselves black. In fact, I conducted an interview in Israel in roughly June of 2016, where I interviewed a Sudanese immigrant who is now an Israeli citizen who passed through Egypt along with many other black Sudanese. And needless to say, it was a horrible experience. I'll leave the link to that interview in the description box below. But I knew that this could not have been from the lips of Gamal Abdel Nasser for that reason, that Egyptians who are Berber, just to clarify, Africa is not a country, it's a continent, and it's not a monolith. There are several ethnic groups that inhabit the continent of Africa. Now, Berbers or Amazigh people are not necessarily Arab. Many people get it wrong and think that they're Arabs. Black Hebrew Israelites, so-called, will also claim that the true Egyptians used to be black, used to look like Kevin Hart, used to look like Shaquille O'Neal, and then the Arabs came down and mixed. Actually, no, even from genetic evidence, we know that the Amazigh people or the Berber people are a Hemo-Semitic people. They are not Arab, and they are not Bantu African. They are their own distinct people group, and they do have a phenotype aesthetically that closely resembles Arabs. And of course, after Islam became the dominant religion, they closely relate to their Arab brothers and sisters. But from parts of Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, Morocco, and other places in North Africa, you find the Berber or Amazigh people. This is what Gamal Abdel Nasser probably was based on his location. He was probably a Berber, and Berbers do not consider themselves black. Again, Africans passing through Egypt are treated horribly, worse than any white traveler or immigrant would possibly be treated because of their dark skin. But when I found this quote, I was wondering, is there any potential truth to this? Maybe it was taken out of context. So I went on a search to find this supposed quote from Gamal Abdel Nasser. Needless to say, I didn't find the quote. It doesn't exist. You can't find the original source for this quote anywhere. They claim it was from a Time magazine interview, but you will not find the original source of this quote anywhere. I've even left $1,000 rewards for anyone that can find this purported quote. But better than that, I found proof that this quote is completely erroneous. In an interview in 1969, Gamal Abdel Nasser, who was the president of Egypt during the Six-Day War, post-Six-Day War with Israel, in an interview stated a couple of things that shoot holes in this fake meme. Number one, he claims that the Jews of Israel, the Israeli Jews who occupied Israel at that time, were his cousins. And I'm going to play the clip. So he acknowledges the link between himself, seeing himself as more like an Arab, or the Arabs, the Muslims. He sees himself as a Muslim Arab, and he sees the Jews as his cousins, because of course we know the story, the biblical story of Ishmael and Isaac. And so from that, he deduced that he is a descendant of Ishmael and they are a descendant of Isaac. Therefore, the Jews are cousins. The Jews of Israel are cousins.
We said that it is well known But I think some people have forgotten that we and Jews are cousins. Moses was born here in Egypt. We're always living in very good conditions. So why the Muslims and Christians, the Arabs and the Jews don't live together?
Another claim that he makes is that the land of Egypt at the time of the interview in 1969 had a sizable Jewish population, and I know this to be true. If you go to Israel today, most of the Jews from Egypt have left Egypt. There's not a lot of Egyptian Jews left in Egypt. They've mostly migrated to Israel.
Well, why not the Jews and the Arabs, the Christians and the Muslims were living here in the Middle East for centuries, for thousands of years. The Jews were living here in Egypt, and they are living here in Egypt, in spite of the propaganda which was used against us in your country, that we don't treat the Jews well. You can go all over the country and you can see the Jews.
Now, the Jews in Egypt that he acknowledges as Jews, and not as fake Jews, look very much like the citizens of Israel today. And here are some pictures of the Jews of Egypt in the time of Gamal Abdel Nasser. So we see that these Jews do not look like the so-called Black Hebrew Israelites of North America. So if his contention was, hey, they left black and came back white, but then he acknowledges that the Jews in Israel are his cousins, and he also acknowledges that there are Jews in the land of Egypt who inhabited Egypt, and they don't look like you, Black Hebrew Israelites. They look like, they look closer to Semitic people you find in the Middle East. Then that just shoots holes in this fake meme. Lastly, I want to say, even if this were to be true, even if it were true that they left black and came back white, Gamal Abdel Nasser would have to have been 2,000 years old roughly to remember what they looked like when they left. So this claim that he knows they were black and that they came back white is just ridiculous. The fact of the matter is, many of you Black Hebrew Israelites need to leave your neighborhood, need to go see the world. The world is bigger than black and white. And you've never been to Israel. Israel's a very diverse place, and a large percentage of Israeli Jews are neither white nor black by the standard definition that I think we go by. Most of them have a more Middle Eastern Arab look. Matter of fact, it's hard to tell, depending on where you're at, between an Israeli and a Palestinian oftentimes. So this idea that Israel is just, everyone looks like Woody Allen and Israel is absurd. Again, you've obviously never been there. And there are not only just Middle Eastern or Mizrahi Jews, and if you want an example of a Mizrahi Jew, you're Paula Abdul, famous singer, American pop star from the 80s, is a Mizrahi Jew. Ofra Haza, these are a few Israeli pop stars back in the day, back in the 80s, that were Mizrahi Jews. But you also have, of course, the Ashkenazim. You have the various African Jewish groups, and you even have various Asian Jews. Of course, Isaiah 49:12 uses the word Sinim, which many scholars today favor as China, that God would bring them back from even China. And lo and behold, we have the Kaifeng Jews, some of the oldest Torah scrolls in existence. So it comes as no surprise that Israel is a diverse place, given that the Bible tells us where they would be scattered to and where they would be regathered from. This meme is a sad and desperate attempt by a people who have been brainwashed to hate their African heritage, to see it as less than noble, and who have been essentially stripped of esteem and pride in who they are, searching for purpose by any means necessary, even by putting fake words on the lips of a dead Egyptian president, words that don't exist, words that fly in the face of everything else he said. And it is this kind of thing, these kinds of antics, along with their fake language and other things, that give us good reason to pray for the so-called Hebrew Israelites, because we know that liars will not inherit the kingdom of heaven. And if you have to prop up falsehoods to support your claims, that means your claim is fake. Your claim has holes in it. Your claim can't stand up to the truth. Some of this stuff is so laughable, but it's also sad. And they need to realize that their identity can be found in the Messiah of Israel. Whether they're ethnically Israelite or not, they can be grafted in and realize all the blessings of Israel through Messiah. And until then, we'll continue to speak the truth. And if you ever hear me greet you with shalom, please slap me. No. It's actually shalom. And may the Messiah of Israel, Jesus of Nazareth, give you shalom. God bless.
Right Hand Production.
That's me. 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 That's me.